S&P 500 with dividends has hit an all-time high. Junk debt is also approaching an all-time high. We'll give a trade example for Intel with a 40% gain in just a few weeks, and congratulations to subscribers for that. Gold should be hitting new highs on weaker dollar, but so far it hasn't. So we will look at the relationship between the dollar and gold, and we will also look at oil, which is headed for second week of gains and is currently at resistance. Will it hold? All this and more in today's edition of MasterChartsTrading.com market recap for Friday, December 22nd, 2023. As always, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, make a comment. These are the actions that keeps this channel going, and thank you for them. If you are a subscriber, stay tuned. We'll have another pretty big video to cover various securities that we are looking at. For example, various ETFs, as well as large cap stocks, and a whole bunch of various speculative securities such as Sphere 3D, Groupon, Porch Group, Macys. Let me see, Rivian, Roku is coming up on a good buy as well. XPeng, Solid Bio, and Black Incorporated, also known as Square. So stay tuned for that. As always, throughout the presentation, I'll be using my proprietary MasterChartsTrading.com price action indicators, which you can sign up for by going to the description of the video. And these are the lines on this chart, this green, blue, red, and yellow line, which are used for trading and are used for support and resistance, as well as to find the trend of a security. So we're currently looking at S&P 500 on the daily time frame. So each candlestick is 1 day's worth of activity. To change that, you can see right here, it says 1 day. So this is the actual index, the S&P 500 index, and it is very close to all-time highs. So this thin white line, and these are the all-time highs that occurred in January 2022, and these are approaching the all-time high, which is currently very close. So this week we can look at weekly chart as well. So just for the record, weekly means 1 week's worth of activity for each of the candlesticks. And if you're going to be trading on weekly time frame using my indicators, make sure to change the length where I'm hovering to 52. There are 52 weeks in a year. So this week, notice that this candlestick is, good looking green candlestick. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candlesticks in a row that is up. It's kind of getting to be overextended. However, notice this move that occurred at the beginning, that started in the beginning of March and lasted into July of this year. Even though there were several red candlesticks, the move really continued. So for now, we had no red candlesticks since the bottom in October. So overall, it's a very strong move. It shows presence of buyers. It shows that buyers want to be buying, and there is very little resistance, so to speak. So also we took out this high from July, which was a 52-week high, and when we take out the highs, that's what happens is the short covering rally unfolds. In other words, the bears who put their stops above this previous high are forced to cover their short positions, and are by extension they need to buy on an open market. So this is what we're seeing, this buy-in. So last week we had a very large green candlestick. Today we had a continuation again. So far we're not really topping. I mean, we had one big red candlestick here on Wednesday, the 20th, so 2 days ago, but so far we have negated all of it really and moved higher. we're almost at new highs for the move. So overall, for now, we're looking at this chart and it looks pretty good. As far as the ETF SPY, so ETF SPY, it has the dividends added into it. So what does that mean? So notice here on the lower right hand corner where I'm hovering right here, it says ADJ, and it is adjusted for dividends. You can see it's data adjusted for dividends. So data adjusted for dividends for S&P 500 ETF SPY, notice that we are indeed at all-time highs. These are record highs. We have never been here. We have a breakout to new all-time highs. You know, I don't see, I mean, it's a very good news. I was talking about this for a long time. I think that the breakout to new all-time highs would make this move that I'm about to highlight quite possible. So this is the bottom in October 2022 here, October 2022. Okay. And the previous high occurred in January of 2022. So bottom in October 2022, the depth of this pattern is about 36% for S&P 500 ETF SPY, if the depth of this pattern usually, and now that we have a breakout, you know, above the previous records, now that we have that breakout, I think we can project a move higher. So we're looking at about 1,000 points move for S&P 500, the actual index, or about 120 points or 26% move for S&P 500 ETF SPY. So we're looking at a SPY of around 6,000. S&P 500 around 6,000. So yes, this has now finally, became a very much a reality. The breakout has indeed occurred. Will it be a straight shot? There is no way to know that. Absolutely no way. You can predict all of that for a long time, but as of right now, the pattern is showing me that yes, we are indeed headed higher, possibly following a pullback. We will always have pullbacks in an uptrend. So where could that pullback take us? So this is again daily chart of S&P 500 ETF SPY. So a pretty obvious target for a pullback is this gap that occurred between the 13th of November and 14th of November right here. So that gap also corresponds to around where the blue line is currently. All right, I'm just going to go to SPX, it's just easier. So that line is around 4,400 for SPX, and you can see that there's a gap here. So this gap is a relatively, very attractive place to expect a pullback towards. All right, will it occur immediately? There is no way to know that. I think we will hit all-time highs, and maybe at that point we'll pull back. Now, obviously we're overbought because we moved from lows in October to almost all-time highs here, but overbought also implies strength. All right, so in my mind, overbought means that people want to own it, whatever it is that they want to own. So looking at this from this perspective, overbought is not a bad thing. However, overbought also could mean that we will see at least some corrective action. And I think again, the like a pretty obvious target for this pullback would be this gap between November 13th and 14th, which happened to be right around where the blue line is currently. So we're looking at a potential pullback towards around 4,400. Will it happen immediately? No way to know. Again, but this is something to keep in mind. We will not go straight up, just straight up higher to the moon. Yeah, there will be some back and forth for sure. Moving on to high yield bonds. So GNK, as I always point out, high yield bonds correlate. This is a correlation coefficient here on the bottom, in yellow. The higher this correlation coefficient, the more the two securities that are being compared move together in lockstep. And in fact, high yield bonds, GNK, currently moving together in lockstep with S&P 500 in 94%. Notice where I'm hovering. So right now, high yield bonds are also approaching all-time highs. All right, we're so close to all-time highs, and this is important. Again, this is the high yield bonds represent sort of a health of this. Less not very credit worthy, so they're not high yield bonds or junk debt. It implies that the creditors or the companies that are in this index are not terribly well off financially, yet we're pushing to all-time highs. So in other words, risk is on. What I'm trying to say, people want to be in a riskier assets. High yield bonds is a riskier asset than, for example, treasury bond. So the fact that treasury bonds are the high yield bonds are approaching all-time highs together with S&P 500 is telling me that the health of the stock market is actually relatively good. Now, if we uncheck this adjusted, where I'm hovering, it says ADJ. Okay, I'm going to uncheck this high yield bonds. This means that right now we're looking at junk debt high yield bonds without the dividends added back into it. All right, and the chart looks completely different. For me, I prefer to add the dividends into the high yield bond calculation because I think it shows a fuller picture. I think it shows a total return, because very large percent of the return for this security, high yield bonds, GNK, is actually the dividend or coupon in this case. So looking at this chart, high yield bonds approaching all-time records together with S&P 500, overall, I think it's a very positive development. Let's look at a trade we recently did at masterchesstrading.com. So I wanted to highlight a trade that I personally opened myself as well. So I bought Intel. This is Intel. I bought Intel stock. I actually bought the stock itself right here on October 23rd at $34.97. Now, why did I do that? So I need to kind of explain how my system, masterchesstrading.com price action indicators, how do they work. So when a security, Intel in this case, is trading or has dropped below the yellow line, so I'm going to go back way back when the Intel was first. So the last time it was above the blue line was in April of 2021, where I'm hovering. And it continued to drop until finally so without the dividends, we actually were already trading like there. In October 2021, we dropped below this yellow line. Okay, by then, it means that's it. We're out. We're no longer thinking that this security is in an uptrend. We think that it's in a downtrend. We need to avoid it if we're bulls, or we can sell it short, and we, in fact, see those downward facing arrows. Those are opportunities to sell short. For purposes of today's presentation, we're not going to worry about selling short. So since that time, since October 2021, we thought that Intel was in a downtrend and we did nothing or sold it short. Until relatively recently, notice how far it dropped. So if you sold it short, and there were ample opportunities to sell it short. For example, a wonderful sell opportunity to sell it short in March of 2022, and then you got a huge move to the downside. Eventually, it bottomed out here in October 2022 and started kind of move higher in this wave-like fashion until finally, where I'm hovering right there, on June 13th, 2023, it closed above this blue support resistance line. And at this point, this is the only piece of information that I really need to make a decision of whether or not the security is in an uptrend or a downtrend. Okay, so at this point, on the 13th of June, I said, okay, Intel is now in an uptrend. And we started looking for buying opportunities. Notice those up arrows. Those are actual opportunities. The white arrow right here is actually my trades. So I was able to get in on those. Blue one is an alert to my subscribers. Eventually, I was rewarded with another opportunity right there on 23rd of October. How do I know it was an opportunity? So when security closes above the blue line, we just simply buy. And sometimes it just goes straight higher. Let me show you. I think I have a one that kind of did sort of like that. Yes, there's a firm holdings that more or less just went straight higher. But Intel, in this case, it didn't go immediately higher. It went 1, 2, 3, another opportunity that I didn't send it 4, and only the fifth one really just took off. Luckily enough, I bought it on the fifth time. And then I held on. So how do we know that we have a trigger to buy? The trigger to buy is very simple. When the security, in this case Intel, dropped below the blue line, even for a low, it made a low below the blue line. All we need to do is a low below the blue line and a close above it. So this is what happened exactly on 24th of October. We had the low below the blue line. In this case, we actually had a close below the blue line, and then a close above it. And I bought it at this point. All right. Several days later, we have a move higher towards this green line, and this is pretty much my target where I want to start moving my stop to entry. And I moved my stop to entry at this point. That means that I cannot lose money. Luckily enough, the stock continued higher, and I actually took profits a few weeks later, already pretty significantly higher. So this was I took profits. I sold a quarter of my position, so that was about 25% gain on about a quarter of the position. Notice that the security then kind of moved higher, but then moved below the green line. And usually at this point, I'd like to take more profits just to guarantee, because sometimes at this point we'll just continue lower. Like for example, notice this move here from August into September. It moved higher, but then we closed lower, and we basically got stopped out at this point. So I took more profits, and in other words, I sold about a half of my position for an average gain of about 22 or so percent. However, I still have half of the position remaining, and actually today we hit another high, and if I'm not mistaken, it's an all-time high. Let's see. No, it's a 52-week high. Okay, so it's not yet an all-time high. So currently I have about 38% or so gain on the 50% of my position remaining, and I know for a fact that several of my subscribers at Master Shares Trading were able to get in on this trade. In fact, some of them were able to get in with long-term options, and this is one of my favorite trades. If you are buying, you can buy an actual security, and sometimes it's a good idea to buy an actual security because we don't know 100% if it will move immediately higher or if it will do like this. It will go sideways and then eventually move higher. So I know for a fact somebody got in with a long-term options on the 23rd of October, and the move of 40% higher for an option, it's at least 3 times, possibly more. So we're looking at like 100 150 to 200% gain, maybe even more, because this is a very quick move also. So depending on how far out you bought, how far out expiration date for the option is, and also the strike price, you could be sitting on multiple hundreds of percent if you bought options. So again, big congratulations if you were able to open Intel recently, and hopefully this will continue higher and you will be even more richer. I wanted to mention before I forget, please don't forget, this is a time of not only you go to church, you go to place of worship, but I think important thing to remember is it's a time of charity. And so if you made some money, please donate some, especially right now. Ukraine is a big deal. I think they're right now upholding democratic principles of the world. So I think donations to Ukraine, especially if you made some money, would be much appreciated. If you're interested, send me a message. I will post a account number for PayPal where you can donate money, and they will go directly for drones for the fighting in the Ukraine right now. Also, you can just send non-lethal aid. If you don't really care about Ukraine, which you should, you can also donate money locally to your local places. All right, let's move on. Dollar currency index DXY. So, dollar is a conundrum. Number one, I thought we were in an uptrend. Up until recently, I thought we were in a downtrend. Notice this downward facing arrows here back in March and new lows. Then we went on this just huge rally that started from July of this year and it finally ended in November of this year. And it actually, notice this up arrow, we closed above the blue line. So, as I like to point out, this is all I needed to know to say that yes, we are now in an uptrend. However, we quickly reversed. In fact, we continued lower and then we made a close below this red support resistance line. So for continuous securities such as dollar or forex or oil or gold, I use the blue and red line. If we're trading things like Intel, I use the yellow line as the end, end of the bull market or bearish indicator. This is an important distinction, and again, I can explain it. So right this instant, dollar technically is in a downtrend. Today's action was actually kind of good. It's a little tiny possible hammer candlestick that could be indicating the bottom. See, notice how close we are. We're very close either way. We can move, just a percent, maybe almost a little bit less than 2%, and we're again in the uptrend. If we continue lower and close below the yellow line, then most likely we're in a, for sure in a downtrend. But right this instant, technically speaking, we're in a downtrend. The latest signal was bearish, okay? If the dollar is in a downtrend, gold should be benefiting. So XAU divided by USD, the lower part of this equation, US dollar is becoming weaker, smaller, so gold should be pulled higher. Now, it's not an ideal action, what's been happening for the past few weeks maybe. So first of all, we have this giant rejection-like candlestick that occurred on the 4th of December here. So that was number one thing that worries me. Number two thing that worries me is that really, if dollar is, really pulling back, shouldn't gold be, significantly pulling higher? And I'm not really seeing like a very strong move, So for me, this is still a little bit up in the air. The other thing that I'm kind of worried about is GDX. Here's gold miners, GDX gold miners ETF. Today I was expecting a close above this blue line, which would put my doubts to rest. But no, we didn't. We kind of came up and actually closed below it. So are we seeing a rejection for gold? What is going on? This is a little bit confusing, to tell you the truth. So this action is not it's not unequivocal right now. So even though gold latest signal was up, I'm sort of reluctant to touch it. It's just one of those strange feelings I have right this instant. I'm just not sure I want to touch it right now. It might change in the near term, but right this instant I want to just kind of watch and see. Especially I want to see what happens to gold miners, GDX. I'm not sure what's going on in this potential rejection here. Okay, and let's wrap up by looking at oil. Here's oil, CL1 exclamation point on tradingview.com. Up until recently we were in an uptrend. All of a sudden we turned around and we started being in a downtrend again. Right here on the Wednesday the 8th of November, we have a signal to the downside, and actually we moved pretty significantly lower, so you could have made okay money here. This is let's say you shorted it on the 8th of November. That's about a 9% move in your favor. So if you use options on USO, so notice I'm not analyzing USO. This is CL1 exclamation point. If I was to analyze USO, the chart would look completely different. Okay, so please don't analyze USO. Always analyze the underlying security. So notice that we kind of got down to this 68 area, and then we kind of popped higher. So right now we see a touch of the red line right there on the 20th of December, and then a close below the red line. So technically speaking, we again have a sell short signal, right there. But once again, I am sort of reluctant to touch this security, generally because of the news, really. And I barely ever listen to news, but the news cannot be ignored. We have attacks on the shipping lanes in the Red Sea. We can have, I'm hearing that right now many ships are going around Cape of Good Hope in South Africa to avoid the Red Sea. So this is big deal, and oil obviously passes through the Red Sea as well. So overall, sometimes the fundamental news or the news of the world is sort of important. For now, I'm still looking at the security as being in a downtrend. All right, but I need to see if this area of $75 with the red line currently at $75, if it will hold. If it does hold, then we will see a rejection and possibly a new low below $68. However, we need to kind of also look at the weekly time frame. Okay, so this is a longer term kind of chart, and notice that this area here, so all of this area here in the, oh, I'm so sorry, CL1 exclamation point. Okay, so notice this area here in the 66 kind of 66, 67, 68 area. So notice there's a lot of potential. The prices tried to get through that lower level, and so far they have failed every time. So we have opportunity in March here to get through, another one in May, several here in June, and now again in December. So will this be the charm and we will actually collapse down? And if we do collapse, then how low can we go? All right. So I don't know. This is a tough one, honestly. So right now I'm looking at oil and I'm seeing, okay, are we gonna hold this? Is this resistance at $75? Will it hold? If it does, then we could collapse lower. But what if the resistance doesn't hold and we continue higher? Maybe we'll break out again into a new uptrend. So difficult situation right now, both with oil and with gold. So we're looking to I'm just kind of want to watch it for now and then, kind of see what happens. What do you guys think? Make a comment about any of the securities that I covered. Did you trade any of the securities I covered? Did you trade any of the securities, other ones? What do you guys think? Make a comment. If you just want to put a thumbs up, also a good idea. This is what keeps this channel going. And then once you've done so, please head over to masterchartstrading.com. Click on sign up for one of the products. So I have 2 products and 1 package. Trading indicators, this lines in the chart. For example, we traded Intel using these indicators. You can see it's pretty obvious to the naked eye what we're doing here. Blue line is what's holding things up. Okay. Those are the trading indicators. They're available for TradingView interface. This is tradingview.com. Notice that this is a web-based interface. You do not need to download anything. And once you open the TradingView account, I will open the door for you once you purchase my indicators on my site. If that didn't make any sense, send me a message. It's really, really easy. Contact me here, right there. Newsletters. So I send out daily alerts to my subscribers, and I send out a weekly newsletter, or the weekly members only video. So this week we will cover a ton of stocks. Cannabis, we're gonna cover that. By the way, I'm gonna show it to you. MJ. So you see how the indicators are very close together now, and they were so far apart here. We're approaching that breakout level. So perhaps legalization is coming. What do you guys think? Is legalization coming? So the newsletters, I send out alerts about the various securities we trade. Notice we have quite a bit of various stocks this week, so stay tuned for that. And of course, the best deal is to get both trading indicators and newsletters at $59.95 per month. It's a great deal. I will have yearly subscriptions eventually. So if you need it now, send me a message. That's it for this week's recap. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video, and have another great trading week.